Alright guys, so today we're just going to go through some orthotics here that we've got for Sever's disease. Sever's disease is in kids, usually around about age 9 to 13, and it's basically growing pains through their heels. Things that'll make it worse, such as vibration, sports, so walking barefoot if you've got hard floors at home. Every time their heel hits the floor, it kind of vibrates through that bone at the back of the heel, and that can cause pain. So orthotics really help this condition, and especially with kids that obviously are on their feet at school each day trying to do sport. We can decrease their pain a hell of a lot through orthotics, and then obviously other things like exercises, massage, heat, and other bits can help as well. But we're just going to run through orthotic prescription today. So these ones here are made for Severs for a kid. The person's foot and the child's foot collapses in a fair bit at the same time, and the more the foot collapses inwards, the more strain and pull that you get go through that heel area. So the first thing that we've got through here is this little flat spot, which you'll see at the back of the orthotic, and that's there to kind of tilt that foot outwards a little bit. We've then got a good amount of arch support that comes up through here to take that pressure away from that heel area. It's then semi-flexible, so we've got a little bit of flex just going through that, so it's not looking to block that child's foot at all. It's there to kind of guide that foot and just stop the excess forces going over. Now, one of the main ways to kind of treat severs as well is having a bit of a heel raise and lifting that kid's heel up, so they kind of got a little bit more pressure through the forefoot, and that can help out a lot. The reason that I haven't got a heel raise built into the orthotics itself, number one, is because the shoes that I want this kid to put them into is already going to have a bit of a heel built into it. So where we're going to put it into a pair of runners for them, those runners have around about a 10 mil heel pitch, which means they're 10 mils higher at the back in comparison to the front. So number one, we've already got that heel pitch built in there. Number two, we've also got the thickness of the orthotic to keep aware of. So this orthotic here is 2 millimeters thick. So we've got an extra 2 millimeters through the base there that it's built up. We've then got this skive, which increases the thickness once again. So this here is about a 3 millimeter skive, so that lifts it up even more. So in total now we've got around about, we've got the intrinsic post that flattens it out, and that's 1 mil. So we've got the shoe itself, which is 10 mil, we've got the orthotic, which is 1 mil, we've then got the skive, which is 3 mil, so that's 14 mil in heel pitch that we've already got already. We're then going to put some padding through the heel in a minute, and we'll recover the orthotics, which is going to be 3 millimeters thick. Obviously we've got a certain amount of compression when they stand on that then, so let's say it compresses by half, so that's 1.5 mil, so that takes us up to 15.5 mil thickness. We're then going to apply an invigorate top cover, which is 3 mil thick again. So we've got that 15.5 mil thickness plus another 3 mil. We'll kind of take that 1.5 mil off that 3 mil again due to compression through there, and that leaves us with a 17 mil heel pitch. So that's a good amount of heel pitch within that to try and take a bit of load off of that heel area to kind of decrease that pain, applying that extra cushioning through there, because obviously that vibration makes the heel more painful as well when they're walking, and that should help reduce the pain a hell of a lot through those kids' heels. So we're on to covering now. What we're going to do is we're going to put the heel cushions in first. So for this, we're using 3 mil Poron. The 3 mil Poron is a really soft material, extremely durable, closed cell foam, which means it doesn't absorb moisture or anything like that. It's not a bouncy foam particularly, it's just a foam that is just going to suck up a lot of that vibration and impact. So we're just going to pop that glue through the heel, and a little bit on the other side as well, and we're simply just looking to cover the heel area with this. We're not looking to extend it down through the arch area. Alright, so that's 2. And then what we're going to do while we do that is just prep the top cover as well. So with the top cover here, we're using our Invigorate foam, which is an ETPU foam. What you should be able to see is the little bubbles just on that, little pellets of kind of plasticky foam basically that are then molded together to make this this fabric. What it is again, it's a really bouncy foam. So this here, it does take a certain amount of shock out of it, but it also has that kind of bounce back as well, which just helps with durability. And we don't need something that's super soft on this, just for the fact that we've already got the soft pour on that's going underneath it. Then we've also got to keep in mind as well that we've got the shoe softness at the same time. So we've got a lot of cushion in there. Obviously the shoes aren't going to be completely rigid, and they've got a base of a good amount of cushioning, so we don't need to double up almost or triple up on the extra cushioning through there at all. So once we've got that in, we'll just trim up around the edges. There's one. And two. Alright, so what we're going to do now is just get that on the grinder, and we're just going to bevel that down and smooth all of that out. Alright, so we're back again. We've just ground those off through there, and what you can see afterwards, if we've got a nice clean bevel just through the front, and we've beveled off around the top. We're just leaving the shell showing a little bit, so that way when we do put the top cover on, it then bevels out nicely to the side and none of this pour-on is showing. Pour-on's not the greatest stuff for having on the outside. It can rub off, so that's why we're trying to get it down below the heel edge, and that way when we put the top cover on through there, it'll seal all of that pour-on in. So now we're going to start to do the covering. So what we've got to start with is our vinyl base to it. There's a couple of different ways you can kind of do this, and if we want to get a nice straight line along the bottom with the glue, what we can do is place that there and then just flick that out. So there's one, and that gives us that nice straight parallel edge through there. We'll just get the edges of the orthotics as well, just so that glues down to the side. So that's one there with that glue on, and we'll do the other one as well. So we'll go for around about the same. We don't need too much glue on this to start with, just so it doesn't smudge back too much. There we go, and we've got that again. That nice clean line of glue across there. And up around the edges. Perfect. So we've got those, and now we're going to just apply the rest of that glue to that vinyl. And again, this is using upholstery grade vinyl here, so very, very durable stuff. Very good quality. And we use this underneath the base of the orthotic just to stop the actual foam part from peeling up, and just creates again that extra little bit of durability through the base. So now we've got those done, we're just going to prep the actual pieces of foam here. So we're just going to apply glue to that one as well, because obviously we're using contact glue, so that contact glue just takes a couple of seconds or so just to kind of dry a little bit and create that tacky surface, so that the other side of it as well then can hook on and be nice and durable. You can use a heat gun with this to get an extra bit of adhesive with the glue, but because it's so warm out, again, we don't necessarily always need it. And what we're going to do with this is, because that edge of that fabric is a little bit just bumpy, we're just going to trim off to have that nice straight line through there, and then we're going to match that line up with the glue that we've got across. So there's one, and we've got the other one that's already got a nice straight line across that base there, so we're just going to use that, and that's that one done. Okay, so now we're on to just gluing the tops of these. So we always start with the heel, which makes it a lot easier. We're going to make sure that we've got glue going all the way up to the plastic edges and over those plastic edges, and then we're just going to come through the rest of it. And the same with this one, doing just around the heel first. Much easier, so we don't get glue all over our hands either. And top's done. Okay, now that that glue has set, we're going to place this down on top through there. Trying to make sure it's in that center, because we've got a bit of a fine line of how much room that we've got through there when we template it off. So that looks nice. And we'll go down with the cover. And we're just making sure that cover's overlapping all of that plastics and none of that pour-on is showing through whatsoever. There's one. Alright, and number two. So again, always placing the front down first, pushing it into all those corners and edges, and flattening it down and pushing it down around the top. So if we don't put the base down first and the front down first, what can happen is the front actually starts to curl up a little bit like that, and it doesn't sit flat nicely and flush on the floor. All right, so we're just gonna use the template now to get the sizes. And what we're going to do with this is I'm going to use a size 11 insole template, because I always like to cut them a little bit bigger, because I like to trim them up in the room, and it saves any issues then with sizing and fitting and coming back too small. So I've got one going around there, and number two, and we'll trim it up with our scissors. Again, we're just trying to get nice and close to that line so we have that perfect shape just to come out, and then we'll use the grinder just to smooth it off from there. All right, and that's number two. So moving off to the grinder now. All right, so there we have it, all finished up and covered, and as you can see, we can see none of that blue around the outside of that pour-on, so we've gone nicely around the edges there to blend that all in. We've got that super soft heel there now with that 6mm of cushioning. We've got that layer of cushioning underneath this, which is the pour-on, which is obviously takes a lot of shock out of it and is very, very soft. And then we've got the layer over the top that adds a bit of bounce to it just for responsiveness and extra comfort as well. We then covered it with a little bit of extra fabric, just slightly bigger, so that in the room we can just trim it up to the shoes pretty easy. So we've got both of them through there, all nicely finished.